The drama begins with Yeondu on her first day of school. Knowing her grades are low, she realizes academics aren't her strong suit. She meets a group of classmates from Class F, and together they decide to start a dance club. However, the noise from their room bothers students from Class A, who are considered the top students at the school. One of them, Ha-jun, pulls the plug on their music, which infuriates Yeondu. She confronts the Class A students, assuming they're just a bunch of nerds. But she's met by their leader, Kim Yeol, who tells her he won't allow the club's music to disrupt their studies. Yeondu angrily argues that he has no right to stop them, leading to a clash between the two classes. When the vice principal, Soo-young, sees the fight, he immediately steps in and punishes Yeondu and her friends, warning that the dance club will be shut down if there are any more issues. Feeling wronged, Yeondu decides to get back at Class A. In response, Kim Yeol orders his classmates to sabotage the dance club as well. Yeondu tries to make a truce with Kim Yeol, but he mocks her, causing her to stumble into his lap. Someone takes a photo of this moment and sends it to Mr. Tae. Before the photo can be deleted, Soo-young manages to see it. The next day, Yeondu is horrified to find the picture posted publicly, visible to all the students. The principal, Jaeyoung-ran, learns about the picture from Soo-young and summons Kim Yeol to her office, scolding him for being involved in such a scandal while being the top student. Yeondu tries to explain to Soo-young that the whole thing was a misunderstanding, but before she can talk to Jaeyoung-ran, Kim Yeol pulls her aside. He tells her that if she gives up on the dance club, he'll clear up the misunderstanding. She refuses, and he declines to help her. Yeondu's best friend, Soo-ah, who is also a Class A student, promises to take revenge on whoever leaked the photo. Just then, Yeondu receives a message that something is happening to the dance club. When she arrives, she finds that the room is being cleared out. Jaeyoung-ran appears and tells the students that, with exams approaching, she's decided to shut the dance club down for good. Yeondu feels guilty, knowing that the club was closed because of the photo. She remains sad for a while but eventually comes up with the idea to create posters asking to reopen the club. Her best friend, Dong-jae, helps her. The next day, they post the flyers around the school, but once again, someone takes pictures and shares them online. The situation catches the attention of the Ministry of Education, which sends a representative to the school to investigate. He orders Jaeyoung-ran to reopen the club, and Yeondu thinks the issue is resolved. However, in class, Mr. Tae collects all the students' phones, announcing that they are being punished because of Yeondu. It becomes clear that Jaeyoung-ran has convinced the representative that the dance club is negatively impacting the students. As a result, Yeondu is bullied by her classmates. Surprisingly, it's Kim Yeol who steps in to defend her. Yeondu, overwhelmed with guilt, goes to Mr. Tae, pleading with him to return her classmates' phones since the incident was her fault alone. Mr. Tae explains that it's not his decision as the phones are with Principal Jaeyoung-ran. After he leaves, Yeondu seizes the moment and looks at his phone, shocked to discover that the person who leaked the photo is her best friend, Soo-ah. Unable to believe it, Yeondu confronts her. To her surprise, Soo-ah doesn't deny it and coldly admits that she only befriended Yeondu to pass the time. She goes on to say that Yeondu could never compare to a top student like herself and reveals that she actually despises her. Humiliated, Yeondu leaves and returns home. Noticing her distress, Yeondu's mother asks her what's wrong, and Yeondu breaks down, saying she no longer wants to attend the school. She locks herself in her room, refusing to come out. However, her friend Dong-jae knocks on her window with some good news about her grades. Encouraged, Yeondu decides to return to school the next day, only to discover that the students from Class A have taken over her dance club. Furious, Yeondu challenges them, declaring that she will join Class A based on her performance in the next exam. But Soo-young pulls her aside and tells her not to even dream of joining. This exchange is witnessed by Yeondu's mother, who harshly confronts Soo-young, threatening to transfer her daughter to another school. But outside, Yeondu tells her mom that she doesn't want to leave, she wants to stay with her friends, at least until she can get her dance club back. Determined to transfer to Class A, Yeondu knows she needs to accumulate a significant number of points, so she starts cleaning the school day after day, even when Soo-young tries to stop her. Frustrated with her persistence, Soo-young asks Jaeyoung-ran to reopen the dance club for Yeondu, but Jaeyoung-ran refuses, saying she won't give in to her. Back in her room, Yeondu is bullied again by Soo-ah and her friends. Just when she feels like she can't take it anymore, her friends burst into the room to defend her, standing up to Soo-ah and her group. They leave the room together, feeling victorious after putting the arrogant girl in her place. Later, Jaeyoung-ran summons both Class A and Class F, announcing that they will have to work together for an upcoming cheering competition in 2 months. At first, Yeondu is reluctant to collaborate with the Class A students, but Jaeyoung-ran promises that if they win, she'll reinstate the dance club. Torn by the opportunity, Yeondu hesitates, but Kim Yeol steps in, refusing to work with what he calls failures. He says that if they collaborate, they'll only be backup for Suah. Yeondu rejects the idea of being anyone's backup, and Kim Yeol also refuses to participate. Meanwhile, Dong-jae discovers Ha-jun in the bathroom, having attempted to... Panicking, he doesn't know what to do until Kim Yeol arrives. He quickly takes Ha-jun to the hospital, where Yeondu happens to be after injuring her ankle. She sees Kim Yeol outside. He warns her not to tell anyone about what happened, and she promises to keep it a secret. A few minutes later, they spot Mr. Tae at the hospital. Yeondu quickly tells them to hide, and in the process, Kim Yeol gets so close to her that both of them feel a bit nervous. When Kim Yeol returns to school, he is summoned by Jaeyoung-ran, who confronts him after finding Ha-jun's bloody shirt. She reveals that she knows everything about Ha-jun's situation and blackmails Kim Yeol, saying she won't inform Ha-jun's father if he agrees to join the cheering competition. Not only that, but he must also convince Yeondu to participate. Wanting to protect his friend, Kim Yeol reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Yeondu notices two of her friends with Suah discussing their training plan for the competition, realizing that she's the only one still refusing to join. Soon after, Kim Yeol approaches her, pleading for her to reconsider. She refuses at first, but he insists, explaining that the situation is serious. He follows her everywhere, persistently trying to change her mind, even getting them both punished just to spend more time with her. Finally, Yeondu breaks down, explaining that she can't join forces with the person who nearly ruined her school life. Kim Yeol sympathizes and suggests she head back to her room while he handles the situation. However, they soon realize that they're too late and the school gates are closed. With no other option, they sneak through the boys' dorm, hiding together under a blanket while Ha-jun convinces the guard there's no one in the room. After the coast is clear, Kim Yeol apologizes to Yeondu for pushing her too hard, telling her she can do whatever she wants. He then confides in her about Ha-jun's problem, which changes her perspective. Moved by this, Yeondu decides to join the team. She gathers her friends and goes to Jaeyoung-ran, announcing that they've accepted her offer to compete. The two classes unite, and their trainer, Ms. Young-ah, introduces herself. She emphasizes that for them to put on a great show, they need to know each other well. Meanwhile, Suah, feeling immense pressure to please her mother, who wants her to be the top student, is frustrated to find she is still second to Kim Yeol. In her frustration, she sneaks out to smoke, trying to calm herself down without being seen. Unfortunately for her, Dong-jae walks in on her, and though she tries to hide the cigarette, Kim Yeol sees her. He confronts her, telling her he knows she's been smoking and threatens to use that information against her if she ever tries to hurt him or his friends again. He also warns her not to harm Yeondu, or he will expose her secret. Unbeknownst to them, Yeondu overhears the conversation. Later in class, Kim Yeol decides to bother Suah. He tells Mr. Tae that he lost his wallet and asks him to search the students' bags, knowing Suah will panic since she has cigarettes in her bag. As Suah turns pale, Yeondu feels sorry for her. Instead of letting her get caught, she tells Mr. Tae that Kim Yeol's wallet is right in front of his desk. Shocked, Kim Yeol looks at Yeondu, asking why she's defending the girl who's caused her so much trouble. Yeondu responds that she can't bring herself to harm Suah, even though Suah has wronged her. Instead of thanking Yeondu, Suah slaps her, accusing her of convincing Kim Yeol to orchestrate the situation. Meanwhile, Ms. Young-ah's training becomes so intense that the students from Class A begin to complain, unable to keep up. Their parents intervene, coming to the school to demand Jaeyoung-ran reduce the training hours. The situation escalates, and the Ministry of Education gets involved again, sending a representative to mediate. Jaeyoung-ran promises to address all the concerns and resolve the issues. When Young-ah confronts Jaeyoung-ran, she makes it clear that the school's reputation will suffer greatly if they don't participate in the cheering competition. She warns Jaeyoung-ran that if she wants her to continue training the students, she must not interfere with her methods, or else she'll resign. Young-ah keeps pushing the students hard, insisting they work together, but they continue to argue and bicker. One day, while Yeondu is walking across campus with Dong-jae, a group of students in the middle of a fight accidentally throws a mop that almost hits Yeondu. Just in time, Kim Yeol rushes in and shields her with his body, taking the hit. Yeondu immediately takes him to the hospital, and as a gesture of gratitude, she insists on treating him to a meal. Afterward, they come across a dance competition with an air fryer as the prize. Excited, Yeondu pulls Kim Yeol on stage, and thanks to her dancing skills, she wins the prize. They spend the day together, and on the way back, Yeondu even falls asleep on Kim Yeol's shoulder. When he drops her off at the dorms, both of them can't stop thinking about each other. The next day, Young-ah forces the students to get to know one another better by making them do 20 push-ups for every refusal. At the end of the day, they all sit together, and one of the students asks Kim Yeol if there's a girl he likes. Kim Yeol glances at Yeondu, hinting that there is a girl at the school he likes, but he's not ready to confess yet. Yeondu blushes, wondering if he's talking about her. Later, Kim Yeol stumbles upon a video in the teacher's room showing Suah holding Ha-jun's bloody shirt, revealing that she was the one who reported Ha-jun's situation. Furious, Kim Yeol confronts Suah, who admits she did it to manipulate Jaeyoung-ran into making Kim Yeol follow her orders. Ha-jun, enraged, threatens her, vowing revenge. He retreats to the rooftop, feeling betrayed and upset, and later confronts Soo-young, declaring that the school can no longer use this against him. Kim Yeol arrives to calm Ha-jun down, but Ha-jun fights him too, upset that Kim Yeol joined the competition to cover for him, refusing to accept his sacrifice. Young-ah, seeing the tension between them, punishes them by making them do push-ups in the rain. However, feeling sorry for the students, she invites them all to her house for dinner. While she steps out to grab some supplies, one of the students finds a drink in the fridge, thinking it's juice, and pours it for everyone. Before long, the students all get drunk. Ha-jun, needing to go to the bathroom, encounters Suah crying in a corner. Feeling a moment of pity, he throws her a tissue to dry her tears. Meanwhile, Kim Yeol is with a very drunk Yeondu. He looks at her lovingly and leans in, almost kissing her. At that moment, Young-ah returns and is shocked to find all the students drunk. She quickly calls a driver to take them back to their dorms. On the way, the students ask for a brief stop, and when they return to the car, they don't realize Suah isn't with them. After finishing throwing up, Suah realizes she's been left behind and wanders alone through the forest. It isn't long before the others realize Suah is missing. Panicked, Young-ah organizes a search to find her. Yeondu, determined to find Suah, sets out to search for her, followed by Kim Yeol. Along the way, Yeondu injures her ankle, and Kim Yeol carries her back to the car. Meanwhile, Ha-jun starts to worry about Suah's emotional state and fears she may hurt herself. He goes looking for her and finds her standing by the ocean. Gently, he talks to her, calming her down and reassuring her that she's not alone. Realizing that the others hadn't abandoned her, Suah decides to stop what she was thinking of doing. Ha-jun gives her his jacket, and they return to the car together. Because of the delay, they all arrive late to school. Upon arrival, they see Jaeyoung-ran and Young-ah waiting for them. Young-ah decides to disperse the group for a while, allowing Mr. Tae to help the students sneak back in. In that day, Yeondu had a faded memory of Kim Yeol approaching to kiss her while she's drunk. She gets nervous and asks him for details about what happened. However, he keeps teasing her, refusing to admit that she actually slept before their lips touched. Later, Yeondu accidentally overhears a conversation between Jaeyoung-ran and Soo-young, in which Jaeyoung-ran reveals her plan to fire Mr. Tae. Alarmed, Yeondu rushes to tell Kim Yeol, insisting they have to do something, but Kim Yeol advises her not to get involved, warning that it could create more problems. Ignoring his advice, Yeondu tells Mr. Tae about the situation. Upon learning the news, Mr. Tae decides to get revenge on Jaeyoung-ran by exposing everything she's been doing at the school. He contacts a journalist friend, sharing all the details. The journalist approaches Jaeyoung-ran, stating that he wants to interview the students about Mr. Tae. In response, Jaeyoung-ran threatens the students, telling them that anyone who participates in the interview will lose all their points and could be expelled. No one agrees to the interview, except Yeondu. However, just as she's about to begin, Kim Yeol steps in and pulls her out of the room, warning her that Jaeyoung-ran is serious about expelling her. Frustrated, Yeondu calls Kim Yeol a coward and walks away. She later meets Mr. Tae, apologizing for not being able to help. Mr. Tae reassures her, telling her he's not upset, and that if she really wants to support him, she should focus on graduating. Meanwhile, Kim Yeol reflects on Yeondu's words and realizes he's been acting cowardly. He searches for her and eventually finds her sitting in the rain. Kim Yeol sits beside her, apologizing and promising that from now on, he will support her in whatever decision she makes. Yeondu, encouraged by his words, feels motivated and decides to proceed with the interview. After completing the interview, Yeondu goes to Mr. Tae to tell him what she's done. However, at that moment, Mr. Tae receives a message from his journalist friend, saying that he's been ordered not to publish anything about the school. Determined, Mr. Tae contacts another journalist, urging him to convince their colleague to release the story, as he has solid evidence that the school is altering grades to favor wealthy students. This conversation is overheard by Suah, one of the students benefiting from the grade manipulation. Fearing that Mr. Tae will expose everything, Suah devises a plan to accuse him of harassment. During a cheerleading practice, Suah's friend pretends to fall, and when Mr. Tae tries to help her, she screams, accusing him of harassment in front of everyone. Her mother quickly arrives at the school, threatening to file a lawsuit against Mr. Tae. Though he insists he was only helping, no one believes him. Young-ah defends Mr. Tae, saying she witnessed the entire event and that he did nothing wrong, but her words fall on deaf ears. Jaeyoung-ren then announces that she will review the security footage to uncover the truth. However, before she can do so, a damaging report circulates on social media, featuring Mr. Tae's picture with false claims that he regularly harasses students. When the accusations against Mr. Tae spread through the school, the students began demanding his dismissal. Yeon-do, determined to defend him, tried to speak up, but Kim Yeol stopped her, reminding her that they needed concrete evidence before taking any action. He reassured her that he would find out who posted the false accusations on social media. Together, they decided to write a petition stating Mr. Tae's innocence, gathering signatures from students who supported him, and sent it to the Ministry of Education. When Jaeyoung-ran discovered the petition, she panicked, fearing that the ministry might intervene and prevent Mr. Tae's dismissal. Before she could take any action, a representative from the Ministry of Education arrived to investigate. A meeting was arranged, and the girl who accused Mr. Tae was called in to tell her story. At first, she hesitated, but then she claimed that Mr. Tae had attempted to harass her, but she stopped him at the last moment. Seeing this, Mr. Tae felt hopeless and apologized to the girl, explaining that he was only trying to help her and that she must have misunderstood him. He then announced his decision to resign from the school. Upon hearing this, the girl began to feel guilty and confessed to her mother that she had lied, and Mr. Tae had done nothing wrong. However, her mother insisted she remain silent, arguing that Mr. Tae was choosing to resign, and they weren't responsible. Ha-jun, deeply upset by the situation, turned to his father, who worked at the Ministry of Education, to ask for help in clearing Mr. Tae's name. However, his father refused, calling Mr. Tae a pervert and revealing that he had personally rejected the student's petition when he saw Ha-jun's signature on it. He warned Ha-jun not to get involved, leaving him frustrated and angry. On the day of the first stage of the cheerleading competition, Mr. Tae showed up to support his students. However, the students surprised him by holding signs demanding his return to the school, with more and more students joining the protest. Even the girl who accused him stepped forward and publicly apologized, admitting in front of Jaeyoung-ran that she had lied and that Mr. Tae had done nothing wrong. Mr. Tae forgave her, but he still expressed his desire to resign. Jaeyoung-ran, however, told him that both he and the students must face punishment before she could accept his resignation. In a show of solidarity, all the students declared that the entire school had been part of the protest, and if Jaeyoung-ran wanted to punish anyone, she would have to punish everyone. Overwhelmed by their unity, Jaeyoung-ran realized there was nothing she could do, and she could no longer fire Mr. Tae. He ultimately decided to stay at the school. The students celebrated Mr. Tae's decision to stay, and he advised Yeon-do that if she wanted to join Class A, she needed to study hard for the upcoming exams. Kim Yeol dedicated himself to helping her, tutoring her day and night so she could reach her goal. During the exams, Yeon-do followed Kim Yeol's guidance and was thrilled to see her grades improve slightly. Meanwhile, Soo-ah, once again ranked second behind Kim Yeol, grew increasingly frustrated. She confronted Soo-young, asking why she was still in second place despite getting nearly all the answers right. During their conversation, a student accidentally bumped into Soo-young, causing his belongings to scatter across the floor. As he quickly gathered his things, Soo-ah noticed a flash drive he had left behind and discreetly took it. Later, when Soo-young returned to his office, he realized the flash drive was missing. Panicking, he confided in a colleague that the flash drive contained all the upcoming exams. Another teacher mentioned seeing Kim Yeol in the office earlier, leading Soo-young to suspect that Kim Yeol might have taken the drive. Soo-ah, after stealing the flash drive with the exam answers, retreats to the bathroom to copy all the correct answers onto her laptop. Once finished, she plans to return the flash drive to the teacher's office but overhears students discussing its disappearance, making her too afraid to return it directly. Instead, she slips the flash drive into Kim Yeol's bag, knowing that Soo-young already suspects him. Later, Soo-young searches Kim Yeol's bag and finds the flash drive, confirming his suspicion. Kim Yeol tries to defend himself, claiming he has no idea how it ended up in his bag, but no one believes him. He is summoned by Jaeyoung-ran, who warns him that this incident could lead to his expulsion. The Ministry of Education launches an investigation, and Kim Yeol is sentenced to 100 hours of community service as punishment. Despite accepting his sentence without protest, rumors spread that Kim Yeol had never deserved his first-place ranking and had always been a cheater. Kim Yeol faces bullying from his peers, but Yeon-do stays by his side, telling him she believes in his innocence. Touched, Kim Yeol thanks her for standing by him when no one else would. Determined to clear his name, Yeon-do decides to investigate the matter herself. Sneaking into the surveillance camera room, she finds Ha-jun already there with the same goal. Before they can access the security footage, they hear the security guard approaching and are forced to flee. Soon after, the exam results are released, and for the first time, Soo-ah takes the top spot. Her mother, overjoyed, showers her with gifts. Meanwhile, Kim Yeol sends Yeondu a video from earlier, celebrating her improved grades from the previous exam. As Yeondu watches the video, she notices something in the background, Soo-yeon placing the flash drive into the bag. This revelation proves that Kim Yeol couldn't have taken the flash drive from the teacher's office, as he was with Yeondu at that time. Ecstatic, Yeondu realizes she has proof of Kim Yeol's innocence. She quickly informs Ha-jun and calls Kim Yeol, telling him everything. The three of them confront Jae-young-ran, with Kim Yeol presenting the evidence of his innocence. He demands that the exams be redone and asks for an apology, urging Jae-young-ran to find the real culprit. In class, Mr. Tae announces to everyone that Kim Yeol has been proven innocent and warns that if the real culprit doesn't come forward, the school will review the surveillance footage, and the guilty party will face expulsion. Hearing this, Soo-ah panics, knowing she's on the verge of being exposed. Desperate, she plans to destroy the surveillance footage, but the worker informs her that someone has already made a copy. Fearing that this person will ruin her, Soo-ah becomes obsessed with finding out who has the recordings. She starts receiving anonymous messages from someone who claims to have the footage and threatens to expose her. The relentless messages nearly push Soo-ah to the brink of a mental breakdown. At first, she suspects Dong-jae of being the blackmailer, but after monitoring him for some time, she realizes he's not the one tormenting her. Soo-ah, suspicious of Yeondu, becomes convinced that she is the one sending the anonymous threatening messages. While at the school camp, Soo-ah begins monitoring Yeondu closely. One night, after Yeondu leaves her tent, Soo-ah sneaks into her belongings and finds a piece of paper with handwriting that matches the messages she had been receiving. Convinced that Yeondu is behind the threats, she decides to get rid of her. The next day, Soo-ah invites Yeondu to accompany her to the supermarket. They take a taxi, but once they arrive, Soo-ah abandons Yeondu and returns to the camp alone, leaving Yeondu stranded without her phone. Yeondu, lost and scared, wanders around crying, unsure of where she is or how to get back. Meanwhile, Kim Yeol and Ha-jun, having seen Soo-ah and Yeondu leave together earlier that morning, grow suspicious when Soo-ah returns alone. Ha-jun, worried about Yeondu, starts searching for her and eventually finds her. He brings her back to the camp, where Kim Yeol tells her how worried he had been. Kim Yeol then confronts Soo-ah, warning her that she had taken revenge on the wrong person. He reveals that he is the one who has the recordings, not Yeondu, and if she doesn't confess to her crimes that day, he will expose her to the entire school. Yeondu joins in, scolding Soo-ah for her actions, saying that she had forgiven her multiple times before but won't forgive her again unless she admits her wrongdoing. That night, all the students gather, and Soo-ah is on the verge of confessing. However, she hesitates, feeling too overwhelmed by guilt and fear. Begging for one more chance, she pleads with Kim Yeol to give her 3 days to gather the courage to confess. Kim Yeol reluctantly agrees, warning her that if she doesn't confess within that time, he will expose her. When they return from the camp, Soo-ah, desperate, goes to her mother's office in tears. Her mother's assistant notices her distress and asks what's wrong. Soo-ah confesses everything to the assistant, who calms her down and comes up with a plan: steal the video recording from Kim Yeol's laptop. That night, Soo-ah sneaks into Kim Yeol's room, searching for the video. As she opens his laptop, Mr. Tae catches her. When he sees the video, he realizes that Soo-ah is the real culprit. He urges her to confess, warning her that if she doesn't, he will tell Jae-young-ran everything. Frightened, Soo-ah leaves the room without taking the laptop, which remains open, playing the video. A student walking by sees the footage, shocked to discover Soo-ah's betrayal. The student shares the video with Yeondu's best friend, who quickly posts it on social media. As the video spreads, students everywhere learn the truth: Soo-ah is the cheater who framed Kim Yeol. Soo-ah, unaware that the video has been leaked, is in the middle of begging Mr. Tae for more time to confess when she suddenly realizes that the entire school is already talking about her. Students are calling her a cheater and a traitor, and she sees the video online with the caption suggesting that Yeondu has gotten her revenge. Furious, Soo-ah confronts Yeondu, accusing her of posting the video. Despite Yeondu's insistence that she had nothing to do with it, Soo-ah refuses to believe her. In a fit of rage, she pushes Yeondu down a flight of stairs. Kim Yeol, seeing this, rushes to save Yeondu but ends up seriously injuring himself in the process. He is taken to the hospital in critical condition. When Jae-young-ran finds out, she is furious and immediately calls Soo-ah's mother, informing her of what her daughter has done. Soo-ah's mother demands that Jae-young-ran cover up the incident, but Jae-young-ran refuses, saying that the police are now involved, and it's beyond her control. In retaliation, Soo-ah's mother threatens to expose the past favors she's done for Jae-young-ran, including bribing her to adjust Soo-ah's exam grades and covering up other issues. Dong-jae approaches Soo-ah, urging her to apologize to Kim Yeol. However, Soo-ah, consumed by guilt and fear, tells him that she's too afraid to face him. She breaks down in front of her mother, confessing that she pushed Yeondu and caused Kim Yeol's injury. She tearfully admits that she wants to confess everything. Sua's mother tries to stop her daughter from confessing, insisting that she'll bribe the school to keep her out of trouble and ensure she regains her top spot. However, Sua, feeling like a puppet in her mother's hands, breaks down. She longs to just be a normal student and realizes how much she has lost: her friends, her self-respect, and her sense of freedom. Isolated and desperate, she decides to leave the but before doing so, she writes an apologetic message to all the students, especially Yeondu and Kim Yeol. As Sua prepares to act on her decision, she runs into Dong-jae, who asks her what she's doing. She confesses that she wanted to apologize to Kim Yeol but was too cowardly to face him. She then asks Dong-jae to go on a date with her, and he agrees. For the first time, Sua enjoys a day without her mother's pressures, feeling liberated from the constant demands about grades and exams. At the end of the day, Sua thanks Dong-jae, telling him that, for the first time in her life, she has happy memories to take with her. When Dong-jae asks where she's planning to take them, she doesn't respond. Meanwhile, Yeondu sees Sua's message and realizes that she is contemplating something dangerous. Yeondu calls Dong-jae, asking if he knows where Sua is. He tells her that they had just been together 5 minutes ago. Alarmed, they rush to find her, suspecting she may be headed to the hospital. As Sua wanders the streets, lost in thought and guilt over everything she's done, she sends a heartfelt message to her mother, apologizing for not being the perfect daughter her mother had hoped for. She admits she can't be any smarter or more successful and reveals her intention to. Her mother, shocked and overwhelmed with guilt, realizes the harm she's caused her daughter. At the last moment, Dong-jae pulls her away, saving her life. Sua is rushed to the hospital, where she is diagnosed with depression. She decides to leave Korea and study abroad, feeling it's the best way to start over. However, the students, moved by her situation, decide to forgive her. They create a video, with each student sending a message of forgiveness, including Yeondu. When Sua watches the video, she breaks down in tears, telling her mother that she no longer wants to escape punishment or run away. She decides to face the consequences of her actions and return to school. Despite her mother's insistence that she could become successful abroad, Sua responds that she doesn't want to be successful, she wants to be happy. From now on, she says, she will make her own decisions. Sua returns to school, where she is welcomed by the students, who celebrate her return. She and her classmates finally make peace, and they all become friends again. Sua's mother finally confesses hers and Jaeyoung Rant's bribes, which makes Soo-young as the new school principal. Meanwhile, Kim Yeol and Yeondu's relationship deepens, with Kim Yeol confessing his love to Yeondu, and she reciprocates his feelings. The drama ends on a joyful note as the students perform their show at the cheering competition, winning first place. They celebrate their victory and return to school, ready to continue their lives together in happiness and harmony.